alternatives to going to trial. If the case goes to trial, it's usually because somebody's being driven by a principle, and that could be you, depending on what the case is about. They're driven by emotion. If you make the people hate you enough, they will go to trial, even if it's not in their best interest, which is one reason not to be an obnoxious litigator. Or they may be too expensive to settle. They just want so much money, they won't back down. Because they almost all do settle, the case should be conducted with that in mind, with a plan towards how do we get to settlement. Cases that go to trial are usually pretty evenly balanced, and so you can figure your chances going into trial are 50-50. I mean, you might have a better case than that, but you can never guarantee, even if you think you've got a good case, what the jury's going to do. And so all of these things that we've been talking about, your attorney should be doing it with an eye towards settling the case, putting pressure on the other side, or getting to a point where you can negotiate, or getting enough information exchanged so that we can finally sit down and say, okay, this is what the case is actually worth. Mediation is another way to go. The parties meet, sometimes together in a room, sometimes separately, but the parties will be there, their attorneys will be there, a mediator will be there. It can be a Christian process. It's not necessarily. You might settle that day, or it might just be the beginning of a process where you're talking about it, and later on it may come to happen. Mediation is not binding. Arbitration is binding, and arbitration usually happens when you've got a contract that says you'll arbitrate. And again, that can be Christian or not. It's a lot like a trial with less rules. It's usually less expensive, but not necessarily. But it's good to keep the dialogue open, and just as a rule of thumb, at the very beginning of a case, it settles for less. Later in the case, it settles for more because, you know, they put all that time and effort into it. They want more. So what you want to do is either settle it quickly or litigate hard and be prepared to go to trial. The reason for litigating hard is you don't want to be an easy target for the money. So that's a strategic calculation.